A racist police officer, John Reynolds, confronts FBI Director Olivia Mitchell in a public setting. The encounter begins with Reynolds displaying overtly racist behavior, using derogatory language and making assumptions about Olivia based on her race. Before we go further, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification and let me know in the comment section where you are watching this video. He mocks her badge and questions her authority, suggesting that she is not genuinely an FBI agent. As the situation escalates, Reynolds becomes increasingly aggressive, his tone and body language reflecting a deep-seated disrespect for Olivia's position and identity. Eventually, he pulls a gun on Olivia, who remains remarkably calm and composed throughout the confrontation, refusing to let Reynolds' actions intimidate her. Despite the danger, Olivia maintains her professionalism, ensuring that the situation does not spiral further out of control. The mayor and police chief arrive at the scene, responding to the escalating situation that has drawn a crowd of concerned onlookers. As they assess the situation, it becomes clear that the woman Reynolds has been confronting is none other than FBI Director Olivia Mitchell. The revelation sends a wave of shock through the crowd, and Reynolds' expression changes from one of arrogance to utter dismay. He begins to panic as he realizes the gravity of his actions, understanding that he has made a grave mistake by threatening a high-ranking federal official. His demeanor changes dramatically from aggression to fear as he faces the consequences of his behavior. The mayor and police chief immediately intervene, taking control of the situation and ensuring that Reynolds is detained. The atmosphere shifts from tension to a sense of justice being served, as those present begin to grasp the full extent of Reynolds' misconduct. The sudden turn of events leaves Reynolds stunned and speechless, his racist behavior and abuse of power now exposed to his superiors and the public. Reynolds is immediately suspended by the mayor and police chief, who take swift and decisive action to address the egregious misconduct that has unfolded before them. He is arrested on the spot for pointing a gun at the FBI director and abusing his power, with charges that include threatening a federal official, racial discrimination, and misuse of authority. The swift action by the authorities sends a strong and clear message that such behavior will not be tolerated within the police force, and that accountability will be enforced to the fullest extent of the law. As Reynolds is taken away in handcuffs, the crowd watches in a mix of shock and relief, knowing that justice is being served and that a dangerous and racist individual is being held accountable for his actions. The incident marks a significant moment in the community's ongoing fight against systemic racism and police brutality, highlighting the need for continued vigilance and reform. The mayor and police chief also announce an immediate review of police protocols to prevent similar incidents in the future, emphasizing their commitment to ensuring that all citizens are treated with respect and dignity, regardless of their race or position. The arrest of Reynolds serves as a powerful example of how the system can work to protect its citizens and uphold the principles of justice and equality. Olivia orders a comprehensive investigation into Reynolds' history of racism and abuse of power, seeking to uncover any past instances of misconduct that may have been overlooked or ignored by his superiors. The investigation is conducted by an independent team to ensure impartiality and thoroughness, and it delves deep into Reynolds' career, examining every complaint filed against him and every interaction he has had with the public. Evidence of past racial discrimination complaints and misconduct surfaces, revealing a disturbing pattern of behavior that suggests Reynolds has been allowed to operate with impunity for far too long. The investigation also highlights systemic failures within the police department that have enabled such behavior to persist, including inadequate training, a lack of accountability, and a culture that often shields officers from consequences for their actions. As the findings become public, they spark widespread outrage and calls for deeper reforms within the police force to prevent similar incidents in the future. The community demands changes in police protocols, better oversight, and more stringent penalties for officers who engage in racist behavior or abuse their authority. The investigation serves as a catalyst for broader discussions about systemic racism and the need for police reform, emphasizing the importance of transparency and accountability in maintaining public trust. Olivia's leadership in pushing for this investigation earns her respect and admiration from the community, who see her as a champion of justice and equality. Reynolds faces trial for abuse of power, threatening citizens with a weapon, and racial discrimination, charges that reflect the gravity of his actions against FBI Director Olivia Mitchell. The prosecution presents a strong and compelling case, highlighting the severity of his actions and the harm caused not only to Olivia but also to the broader community. The trial draws significant media attention, with many viewing it as a critical test of the justice system's ability to hold law enforcement accountable for misconduct. The courtroom is filled with community members, activists, and journalists, all eager to see justice served. The prosecution calls several witnesses, including Olivia herself, who testifies about the traumatic experience of being threatened by Reynolds. Other witnesses include community members who have previously encountered Reynolds and experienced similar racist behavior. The defense attempts to argue that Reynolds was simply doing his job, but the evidence presented by the prosecution makes it clear that his actions were motivated by racism and a desire to assert power over a black woman in a position of authority. In the end, Reynolds is found guilty on all counts, a verdict that is met with a mix of relief and vindication from the community. He is sentenced to a significant amount of prison time for his crimes, a sentence that is seen as a victory for justice and a step toward healing the community's trust in law enforcement. The verdict serves as a powerful deterrent to other officers who might consider engaging in similar behavior, emphasizing that such actions will not be tolerated and that there will be severe consequences for those who abuse their power. The trial and its outcome also spark broader discussions about police reform and the need for systemic changes to prevent similar incidents in the future. The incident serves as a powerful message against systemic racism and abuse of power, sparking widespread discussions about the need for accountability and reform in law enforcement. Olivia emphasizes the importance of addressing not just individual misconduct but also the systemic issues that enable such behavior to persist, highlighting the need for a comprehensive overhaul of police policies and practices. She calls for reforms that include better training for officers to recognize and combat their own biases, stricter oversight mechanisms to ensure that officers are held accountable for their actions, and stronger disciplinary measures for those who violate their oath to protect and serve. The community rallies behind her, using the incident as a catalyst to push for meaningful change and to demand that their voices be heard. The case becomes a symbol of hope and progress, inspiring other communities to demand justice and equality in their own interactions with law enforcement. As the news of the incident and its aftermath spreads, it galvanizes a national movement, with protests and rallies calling for police reform and an end to systemic racism. Olivia's leadership in this moment earns her recognition as a champion of justice and equality, and her efforts help pave the way for future generations of law enforcement leaders who are committed to serving all communities with fairness and respect. The incident also prompts a re-evaluation of community policing strategies, with a focus on building trust and fostering positive relationships between law enforcement and the communities they serve. Ultimately, the outcome of the case serves as a reminder that justice is possible when individuals and communities come together to demand it, and that even in the face of adversity, collective action can lead to meaningful change. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more stories like this, be sure to subscribe and follow us.